Okay, so math books love these system of equation problems, these carnival problems. This is guaranteed to be on your test. I 100% promise you that this problem, it might be the cookie and brownie version where you're baking cookies and brownies, you're having a bake sale. It might be you're selling tickets, but no matter what, it's the same problem. This is going to be on your test. So let's look at this version of it. You got a carnival. For some reason, you're just not very good at keeping track of how many tickets you sold. You know, adult tickets are $8 and kid tickets are $5. You know, you sold 200 tickets total. You know, you brought in $1,150. Now we're going to work backwards and see how many adult tickets and child tickets you sold. First thing we're going to do on word problems, it is a required step that you identify your variables. A lot of times I'll see people just start writing. They'll just go, oh, 8x plus 2y equals 900, whatever. They just start writing. What's x? There's no x in the problem. Look, do you see? I don't see an x anywhere. If I'm making up a letter, I got to tell the reader what that letter stands for. So the first thing we're going to do is define our variables. And I could call them anything I want. I could have called them x and y. I chose to call them A and C. So A is the number of adult tickets. C is the number of child tickets. Because those are the two things I'm trying to figure out, right? So I have two unknowns here. I'm going to have to come up with two equations. You're always going to have enough information to get two equations, and it's always going to be your total amount of something and then your total money of something. So I know I sold 200 tickets altogether. That's right there. So these two have to add up to 200. That's my first equation. Then how much money did I make off the adult? So I made $8 a ticket. I sold A tickets. I made 8A off the adults and 5C off the kids. How much money did I make total? $11.50. There's my money equation. Here's my ticket equation and my money equation. Now I can solve this however I want. Substitution, elimination, whatever I want. I did it substitution. Like you can look through all those steps on your own. I get these two answers. The analogy I like to use is right here. Most of you have a job, right? I want you to think about it, your manager. Like you probably got multiple managers. Think about your dumbest manager, the one that you're like, I don't even know how they got the job. They really shouldn't have that job. Think about you. We all know somebody like that, right? Imagine that manager, that person sent you this problem and you just wrote back A equals 50, C equals 150. That person's not very bright. They don't really think things through. They're going to be like, what are you talking about? What's A? Word problems have word answers, and we're writing our solution for that manager that really can't figure things out. We have to be very explicit. Word problems have word answers. We have to actually write out a complete sentence. All of this is required on word problems. Define your variables. Then once you get your answers, write a complete sentence. Okay, so that one, not bad. Like that could have easily been, we sold a bunch of cookies and brownies and figure out how many of each we sold. It's the same kind of problem. Then we've got these interest problems. These are probably the hardest problems that will be on test 1. These are the ones that cause people the most trouble. But it's really the same problem we just did. This is really just the carnival problem with fancier words in it. And I can't justify this question. Like every college algebra book in the world has this exact same question in it, sometimes with the same numbers. Think about this. Dave's got $5,000. He wants to invest it. So he wants to get the most money for his buck, right? He found 2 banks. One bank's going to pay 4% interest. The other is going to pay 5% interest. For some reason, Dave decides to split his money up. And that's what I'm saying. I can't justify that. That's silly. A rational person would put all the money here and get the most interest. But for some reason, Dave decides to split his money up. And we just got to accept that. Like, just go with the flow here. Dave split his money up. Okay, whatever. After 1 year, he's earned this much interest. We're going to work backwards and figure out how we split the money up. First thing we got to know is the interest formula. You're just going to have to memorize this. It's really easy. Interest is just your principal times your rate times your time for simple interest. Principal is the amount you invested. Your rate is your interest rate, like 4%. That's a rate, but you got to write it as a decimal. And time is just time in years. In this case, it's only 1 year, so time is 1. Okay, so we got to figure out how Dave split up his money. Well, first thing we got to do is define our variables. If I'm going to start throwing around X's and Y's, I have to tell the reader what those mean. So I'm calling X the amount of money, the principal he put in the 4% account. And Y is going to be the amount of money he put in the 5% account. So he's got $5,000. He split that up. So maybe 3,000 in this account and the other 2,000 in this account, something like that. Hey, then how much interest did he earn in each one? Interest is your rate times your principal. So in the 4% account, he earned 4% of the amount he put in there, 4% of X. And in the other one, 5% of Y. So then we get 2 equations. First, the principals have to add up to 5,000. That's how much money he's got to play with. That's like my ticket equation, right? Adults plus children equals the total number of tickets. Well, principal plus principal would be the total principal. And then my interest equation. The interest I earned in one plus the second will be the total interest. See up here, my total interest was 240. I've got 2 equations. I could solve this system. We're all experts at solving systems of equations, right? Substitution, elimination, whatever your favorite is. I'm going to do substitution. So I'm going to solve the first equation for X in terms of Y. Take that and substitute that in right there into the other equation. Now look, I've only got Y's left. See, everybody's a Y. I can solve that. So we distribute. So that's all I've done there is distributed. Collect my like terms. These are Y's. Move that 200 to the other side. Divide. Now that I've got Y, how do I find X? Well, I just plug it back in here. Or I could even plug it here. Or I could have plugged it here. I got 3 different choices. Plug in the Y value I just got to get the X that goes with it. So now I've got X and Y. Nobody asked me for X and Y. Word problems have word answers. So I need to write a complete sentence here for the answer.